I'd like to appreciate the Advanced Resilience Biocarbon. They are a partner here in the US. And I'm representing CADEV, and CADEV is a company based back home in Lusaka, of which I'm founder. And we focus on unlocking innovative potential and capacities locally. We believe there's a lot that this sector, the biochar sector, offers Africa, and this is one of our key activities to ensure that we have growth in that space. We look at climate resilient agriculture. I think that's very critical in the world today, and biochar is that tool that's able to facilitate that action. We're also looking at water and sanitation and climate action in Zambia, but also across the continent. I'm the founder. I have Marnix, who's the director. He's seated in the front. And we've partnered, like I mentioned, we partnered with Advanced Resilience Biocarbon. And we have Marshall somewhere, I think he's right there. And he's the CEO, but we also have Yvonne, who is the president. And there's a few other people dotted across the room that can just wave very quickly just to appreciate that the team is here supporting. Thank you. Okay, so I'm focusing on the continent of Africa as one of the key areas to really look at. And this is critical for me personally because the conversation often overtakes Africa, and it shouldn't. So it's important that we unlock the potential and the possibility that exists on the continent of Africa, particularly how it can work in collaboration with North America and the opportunities that exist there. We know that Africa is a rising market. It has a rising market demand in many areas. It's unstoppable with respect to agriculture. Every person that I know personally owns a farm in Zambia. But that's not only Zambia, across the continent as well. Everybody owns pretty much a piece of land that they use for agriculture. Small-scale agriculture is really massive back home in Zambia and Africa more broadly. The mining sector, I think we're known as one of the biggest continents when it comes to gold, copper, and other minerals, and we're still mining as we go. Sometimes, and in most cases, mining is done unsustainably. We still have artisanal mining, we still have illegal mining, but we also have very big former mining owners that are not only based in the continent, but they also come from out here, including the North America, but also companies like Glencore that come out of Switzerland, and others that have invested on the continent. Construction is endless. We're a developing continent, so we continue to grow. There's a lot of opportunity in infrastructure development. And these are the sectors that we have learned during this conference are really making use of biochar as a resource. So what are the opportunities that exist? We're realizing that there's a triple bottom line that we're looking at: profit, because we know there's money to be made on the continent, but people, for the most part, with some of the things that I've shared, biochar is going to benefit people, the way the standard of living, the livelihoods, food production, and eradicating hunger. We know that biochar is an opportunity for the planet most broadly. And so what are we really looking at achieving for the continent of Africa? So there are many SDGs that we're looking at, but these are the three main ones that are really critical to the continent. Water and sanitation, that's SDG 6. In Zambia, these past 3 months, we've had 17,000 cases of cholera and 1,800 deaths. That is a disease that most developed countries are not experiencing. And we have the opportunity to eradicate this disease. Access to water, clean water, is critical for most Zambians, but more broadly Africans. And we understand, again, from the sessions that you've all attended, or mostly attended in this conference, that biochar is critical in treating wastewater effectively. And it's probably one of the cheapest alternatives to the current treatments that we're seeing on the continent. The energy sector, that's SDG 7. We want to ensure access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable modern energy for all. 90% of Zambians are off-grid. They don't have electricity in their homes. They're based in rural areas. The grid will probably never reach them. There are opportunities for using biochar for their energy needs. There's technologies, low-scale technologies such as cook stoves that we've heard about, but there are other technologies that can be employed using biomass to generate electricity. And I've heard about a lot of these technologies while I've been here. There is an opportunity, a huge opportunity, to adapt them to these communities to enable access to energy. The agriculture sector, Zero Hunger, SDG 2, allows for affordable, reliable, and sustainable soil amendments. I think that's a big one. Here, it's not really much of a sad story compared to the other two sectors, because the government of Zambia and a number of other governments do support and supply fertilizer to every single farmer in Zambia for free. That's, that's an advancement in the sector. But sadly, they're spending a lot of money on inorganic fertilizers that are not benefiting the people because the soils are being degraded, because the yields are sort of depleted. They're not getting sufficient yields due to degraded soils. So it's time out for inorganic fertilizers for Zambia and a lot of Africa. And we know the value and the potential that biochar has for this space. The Zambian government has no reservation in paying for something that works to save them money. And so we see a lot of opportunities in this space as well. Sorry. So we have quite a huge supply of feedstocks, and I had quite an intense conversation with some of my colleagues who are dotted across the African continent. Before this engagement, I thought, let me sit with them and find out what is out there. And we did some sort of assessment to see what is at our disposal. And from what we gathered, we probably have more feedstock than North America does, and in terms of variety. And that's something to capitalize on. Most of it is agricultural waste that sits with the many farmers that are on the continent in different forms. So everything from maize to rice husks, to cocoa, to coffee, you name it. We also have adequate forests that are also able to sustain this feedstock supply. In terms of price, the market is open. Nobody's regulating what we brand and what we place on the biochar price list per se. And so the assessment also revealed that we have from anything from $30 a ton to $230 per ton. It's quite impressive. That's just an image I thought I should share, just to give a visual of some of our products in Zambia that we're producing as KADEV. So you can see the variety of biochar on that, depending on where you're sitting, on the far end. And then in the middle is one of the farms that we are piloting biochar use. One of the farmers that we've trained, and they're actively engaging. This is their first season, so we hope them the best success. And then the final image are some of the blocks that we may make out of fecal sludge biochar. This for us has been an interesting project because we know that fecal sludge ends up in landfills, and so we thought to support the industry by experimenting with construction material. Circular mining, I think this one is a very interesting one for our colleagues from ARB. They are partnering with us as KADEV to unlock mining, circular mining opportunities with biochar, but also we're looking at remediation efforts and potential that exists in this space. For the most part, Zambia is one of the biggest producers of copper in the world, and we are at par with the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are a neighbor, they're right above us, and they are producers of gold and diamond. Again, it's illegal mining, unsustained mining practices. So there's a lot of potential in formalizing the mining sector and doing it better, because there's a lot of damage to the environment. There's a lot of contamination. disease as a result of cancerous diseases as a result of environmentally unsound ways of disposing of mining waste. And this offers a huge opportunity for us to do it better. Hence why we are partnering with ARB on this initiative. We know that the mines have money. Like I mentioned, there's Fortune 500 companies in Zambia that are mining some of our resources. And we need to hold them accountable. They need to get it right. And they need to be supported with the right technology and the right knowledge to get this done correctly. So these are just a bit of the statistics on what mining contributes in terms of emissions. It's 5 to 7% of global emissions, and that's why mining is critical. The mining sector is known to be hard to abate. It needs very specific knowledge and technology, as mentioned, and we have a great team in the ARB that's able to do this. And then the projected demand of growth of critical metals is increasing. I'll zoom in on the US particularly. We had last year a visit from Kamala Harris, who came specifically to Zambia and specifically to visit the mines, because there's an understanding and a growth in partnership between the two countries to increase the potential for improved mining operations, secular mining, and share in the core benefits of what the mining sector in Zambia offers. So because of that, it's really critical that the sector knows that this is happening at US government level and uses that opportunity to harness the opportunities that exist in Zambia and across the African continent. So you get it from me as a Zambian to say you're most welcome to Africa and to Zambia to work with us to ensure that we're growing this sector the way that it should grow. Okay. Stakeholders driving the industry in Africa. I'll start with the US government because we're here. USAID is the agency that's responsible for a lot of the international development activities that the US government is taking part in Africa. And we have projects such as the Alternatives to Charcoal projects. This is looking more at the energy sector. And they're promoting cook stoves, but there's a lot of potential and there's a lot more that we can sell. And I think some of these conversations have to take place here first before they come to the continent of Africa. Because you have the technologies and the skill sets and can adequately pursue some of these opportunities within USAID to be able to work effectively within Zambia and Africa more broadly. And then the African Union's Great Wall Project Green Great Wall Project is also one to look out for. The details of that, I'll also point at Marshall. I think he's very passionate, so I won't dwell on it too much. I think you can also see him for some details a little bit later. But ARB has been very critical in this conversation, and there's been some conversations at the White House level. The Director of Global Food Security, Director of Climate Security, both have had an audience, and we're looking forward to what comes out of that. The European Union is also very key and critical in Zambia, promoting Zambia's circular economy. The European Green Deal was recently signed, and it's put into motion a lot of activity, a lot of funding within the African continent. We're seeing so many players that are making use of the resources that are being made available. We're also looking at multinational companies such as Olam, the second largest producer of coffee in the world. We personally had conversations with them. They want to use biochar. They've had pilot activities, but they're looking forward to grow this even further. At lower level, we have agri-tech startups. We are a startup ourselves, growing very rapidly because of the opportunities that are available. So, there's an opportunity to grow these SMEs that are funded by different funders. There's been several SMEs that are working in Kenya and other locations that are funded by the X Prize, by Bill and Melinda Gates, and so those are opportunities to really look at as well. non-governmental organizations that are looking more at training. Within the continent, Biochar is not fully unlocked. There's a lot of awareness raising that needs to happen, a lot of capacity building, and so NGOs have been really critical in getting the message out there. Research institutions, just a quick shout out to Cornell University. I think we see them more than we see others, and maybe we can see others a little bit more as well, but quite some activities in Kenya there, assessing feedstocks that are available, potential, the soil quality and type, because our soils are more acidic as opposed to yours that are more alkaline, so different recipes need to be looked at and explored. Okay, what are the institutional triggers of scale? We're looking at bilateral agreements. Governments are coming into Africa to see how to trade off their emissions. So, and this is based on Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement that has allowed for that to happen. Perfect. Has allowed for that. Time is being flagged at the back, so I'll be a little bit quicker. So Ghana recently signed agreements with Switzerland and Singapore to offset their emissions. And again, this is an opportunity for the US as well to consider that. National biochar policies that have been signed. Net Zero is one of the critical companies that has enabled that. So enabling policy change in African countries for us to be able to accommodate products like biochar. Government subsidies need to be on fertilizer, create more of an enabling environment. I think I mentioned that fertilizer is being given for free, and these are opportunities as well. And then finally, let me mention the Africa Biochar Partnership. I mentioned meeting with a team of Africans and non-Africans that have sat together and are looking at how we can adequately, from an informed point of view, ensure that we are co-benefiting with the global players. And so this platform is available for everyone to network, to look at standards development, research opportunities, investment opportunities, and the like. So you can always see me after this, and we will be able to share how you can be a part of that. That's just an image of one of our colleagues, Biochar. They're based out of Kenya, and they're doing great stuff in Kenya. There's me doing a training somewhere in rural Zambia, and that's one of our farmers with drying maize corn, which will later be used as feedstock for biochar production. Okay, how am I doing on time? 5 minutes, okay. So current challenges and opportunities, I think I've touched on this quite a bit, but we are looking at creating that enabling environment for both investors and producers to fully develop it. We know there's limited certification options, so organizations that are looking at that certification, like the IBI, and we are working very closely with them to be able to establish this. Limited research opportunities and pilots, I think there's a lot of room for that, so please come through and try out and create that environment for us to know what is possible. Basic technology levels are being used, and we have an opportunity to use more advanced technologies. Low presence of investors, as I mentioned, it's a blank slate, so we would like to see more investors coming. Lack of biochar partnerships, and I think I'll commend ARB again for making some of the first steps. Lack of awareness by available markets on the value of biochar in different sectors. We know the need is there, and everybody's saying there's a need. We want something, but they don't know what that something is, and we know what that something is. So it's about time that we made that available. Okay, so possible solutions. As I mentioned, the certification labs are needed. ARB has one of the first labs in Africa, based out of Nigeria, but Nigeria is far off. It's as far as Vancouver is, or maybe what I would say Sacramento to New Orleans. That's the distance between Nigeria and Zambia. And so it's not feasible to have one lab looking at biochar in Africa. There's need for more labs. Other opportunities, national governments, need to look at what is an enabling environment. Investors need to look at bringing in financing. Producers need to expand and improve technologies. Potential buyers need to look at the market demand. And then finally, partnerships between America and Africa. We're looking at universities. We're looking at knowledge. We're looking at MOUs that can potentially be signed. We also have the Massachusetts Institute of Technology that's already showing a lot of interest in partnering with universities in Zambia. And I'll be hosting them when I'm back in April, so looking forward to such activities. Okay, right. Okay, I'll skip that. I think that's already been mentioned.
I'm intrigued with your stat about 90% of people in your country owning a smallholder farm. Are a lot of those people living on those farms, or do they retain ownership while moving to the city to start businesses or work white-collar jobs?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a bit of both. So there's a lot of smallholder farmers that are working their land, but others that also work white-collar jobs but work remotely. And either way, we still do see that some of those pieces of land are functional. Most of them are functional, but others have not kickstarted their production.
How much food does Zambia import, or do you export?
We do produce quite a lot for internal consumption and export as well. I don't have the numbers immediately, but the other thing that happens for the most part is processed foods are mostly imported.
Thank you.
Thank you.